In the headlines, Katsina youth protest incessant terror attacks. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo cautions Nigerians against making a wrong choice come 2023. Traders at Regasa train station lament lull in business following suspension of Abuja-Kaduna train services. And on the foreign scene, government imposes curfew after protests in Sierra Leone over high cost of living. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Hello and welcome once again. Now, youth from Shula Quarters and Nachanta village near Army Barracks in Katsina Metropolis on Thursday marched through some parts of the capital protesting incessant terror attacks in various parts of Katsina Metropolis. They accused security agencies of remaining helpless and unable to time the bandits. Reacting to the incessant attacks by bandits in parts of Katsina State, Deputy Speaker Shehu Dalhatu Tafoki called on relevant security agencies to sit up and do their work by taking the fight to the bandits' hideout. He lamented terrorists have taken over every part of the state. The Katsina State House of Assembly has resolved to meet Governor Aminu Masari and President Muhammadu Buhari over the worsening security situation in the state. And 7 out of the 35 remaining victims of the Abuja-Kaduna train attack have regained freedom after 135 days in captivity. Among those released is a family of 6 and a 60-year-old woman. The release of the 7 victims now brings the total number of those released to 36. The victims narrate their ordeal.
It's been tough, but we thank God for His grace and mercy. And the prayers, we know that we've prayed and we know that we've had the prayers of our loved ones with us back in the forests there. It hasn't been easy. Everyone has been sick. I came back with my daughter sick because there has not been medication. She hasn't been responding to treatment from the medications they've given. But we thank God for mercy and grace, and we just pray that the rest of the people that we left back would be released as soon as possible. So whatever the government or whoever it is that can support to get them out, we pray that they do whatever they can to get them out as soon as possible, because the situation is actually tough.
My name is Abu Bakr Idris Garba. I am a civil servant working in the National Assembly Service Commission. I would like to sincerely thank Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa ta'ala, who made this possible for myself and my entire family, and especially Sheikh Gumi, who is here present to receive us, including my family, friends, and all who have supported and stayed with us throughout this ordeal. And I would like to say one thing, just to add to what Sheikh Gumi has said. There is no bound for negotiations. 65 of us boarded March 28, 2022. We boarded the train, a federal government train. For goodness sake, what does it take the federal government to negotiate, to sit with these people, find out their grievances? They have innocent people, hardworking people, men who have left their children, they have left their wives for over 135 days. There are people there stranded. They don't have any means. Please, we're pleading on the federal government. Please, sit with these people. Seek Sheikh Gumi's audience, please. By the grace of God, with him here, he could assist and alleviate and help solve these problems.
Bandits have attacked Yakawada village in Giwa local government area of Kaduna State and abducted the daughter-in-law of the convener Northern Elders Forum, Professor Ango Abdullahi, and other villagers. Now, this comes barely a month after Sadiq, one of the sons of Abdullahi, who was kidnapped among the train passengers on March 28, 2022, was released after spending several weeks in the kidnappers' den. While confirming the abduction of his daughter-in-law to journalists in Zaria on Kaduna State Police Command's Public Relations Officer, DSP Muhammad Jaligi, said he is yet to be briefed on the attack, but promised to contact the police division covering the area for details of the incident. Meanwhile, the Nigeria Air Force has neutralized a terrorist leader, Alhaji Shanunu, following an operation in Kaduna State. NAF's Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Edward Gapquet, said this in a statement issued on Wednesday after the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Oladayo Amao's visit to the state. In other strikes in the northeast region, NAF said one of such operations was conducted on 6 August 2022 at Gazwa, about 1.2 kilometers to Gargash, after intelligence revealed that infighting for relevance and supremacy was underway between terrorists of the Shekau faction and terrorists aligned to the Islamic State of West Africa province. The state of confusion and disorder among the two terrorist factions thus presented an opportunity for a surprise strike by Nigeria Air Force pilots, which carried out using 2 aircraft types. The NAF spokesman quoted the Chief of Air Staff as calling on the commanders to stay focused. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo on Wednesday warned that making the wrong choice in the 2023 election may consume the nation, urging Nigerians to make the right choice. Obasanjo spoke as the special guest of honor at the Wilson Badejo Foundation's 15th annual lecture with the theme, Overcoming the Twin Challenge of Poverty and Insecurity in Nigeria, held in Lagos. The former president expressed the hope that if the right choice was made in 2023, the nation may witness progress. He had earlier said that Nigeria has not taken its rightful position because of poverty and insecurity. And former Governor of Plateau State, Senator Joshua Dariye, is set to declare interest to contest the Plateau Central senatorial seat on the platform of the Labour Party. Daily Trust reports that the Plateau State chapter of the Labour Party has concluded arrangements to receive the former Plateau governor from Abuja to pick the party's senatorial form. Dariye, who served as People's Democratic Party governor, defected to the Labour Party, where he contested and won a senatorial seat in 2011. Dariye, who was serving a 10-year sentence for 1.1 billion naira fraud, was released Monday alongside former Taraba Governor Jolly Inyami and 3 others after their pardon by the Council of State led by President Muhammadu Buhari. However, the Labour Party's chairperson in Plateau State, Grace Zamfara, could not be reached for comments. And as the 2023 general elections approach, youth have been charged to abstain from all forms of immoral behavior. Instead, stakeholders urge them to take responsibility of building a prosperous Nigeria by electing leaders with proven integrity who will bring the expected development. Salis Lawal reports.
The countdown is well underway for what will be the 7th general elections since the return to democracy in 1999. This represented 23 years of unbroken democracy, the longest period in the country's history. However, stakeholders are calling on youth to desist from being used as political targets by unscrupulous politicians for their selfish gains. They said now is the time for far-reaching sensitization campaigns to educate electorates on the importance of exercising their franchise in an honest manner, shunning violence.
But I'm happy today that people have realized money politics will take us nowhere. They have deliberately commercialized the political process so that people like me, you and others who has the knowledge, the experience, the integrity not to participate.
On their parts, the youth stressed the importance of education in any country. They said for any country to develop, there has to be a good system of education in place. Therefore, they call on the leaders to give priority to education.
We have realized our mistakes as youths in this country. Look at our universities, closed for over 5 months. Actually, we suffered more than ever.
2023 election, we must ensure that Nigeria get it right.
by voting those who we believe will squarely address challenges and bring the needed development of the country.
I'm calling on my fellow youths to avoid being misused by some politicians as their political dogs, because it is obvious they only use us and dump after election, whereas we suffer, they enjoy alone.
Nigeria may be celebrating its longest run of uninterrupted democracy. However, stakeholders believed that choosing competence and integrity will give the nation the desired outcome. From Yola, Salis Lawan, Trust TV News.
And still talking politics, the Director General of the African Democratic Congress on 2023 campaign, Abdulaziz Suleiman, has raised concerns over the current political developments in the country, taking ethnic, regional and religious dimensions. Abdulaziz, who raised the concern during his maiden news conference in Abuja, expressed worries that the nation's political class are reincarnating a process that could lead to the collapse of the current dispensation. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman reports.
The journalist turned activist and now politician says the current political trajectory in the country is taking a dangerous turn of events similar to what led to the collapse of the First Republic.
As the 2023 fresh round of general elections draw closer, Nigerians can see that major political parties in the contest have inadvertently taken the dangerous contours that led to the events of 1966, which laid the foundation of the collapse of the First Republic Nigerian politics, and the setting in of regional, religious, and tribal hatred, jealousies, and distrust.
He says to reverse the trend, Nigerians must look at political parties that are not built around the fault lines of ethnic, religious, and regional considerations.
No one wins a religious or ethnic war. No ethnic group can dominate another forever. And no benefit comes from fights and conflicts over what God has blessed us with, our population, our land and its resources, and our values.
Yes. Abdulaziz was also put on the spotlight on his seeming class suicide and some of his roles in hardline regional activism.
We did not give an order for any people from a certain region to quit. We responded to a threat with a counter threat. To think that I have changed, I haven't. I'm still Abdulaziz. I'm still the CNG brand. And that was not the only thing we did. We have challenged the federal government led by our own brother.
He tasked Nigerians to rise against the antics of politicians wanting to take advantage of their vulnerability to endemic poverty and set them against one another for their selfish gains. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The Deputy Governor of Nasarawa State, Emmanuel Akabe, said the persistent farmers and herders clashes in the country is a disease that must be cured. The Deputy Governor spoke on Wednesday in Abuja at a national conference themed Management of Farmer-Herder Relations in Nigeria, organized by the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution in collaboration with other development partners. Speaking, the Director General, IPCR, Bakut Twa Bakut, said the conference was timely considering the violent clashes between farmers and others across the country and to some extent the whole of West Africa. He said the crisis had led to the loss of lives, destroyed livelihoods, and by extension affecting other sectors of the economy. You're watching Trust TV News Update. And still to come on the news, how electricity consumers pay for darkness. This and more after the break. Do stay with us. Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Update. Now another look at our top stories. Katsina youth protest incessant terror attacks. And former President Olusegun Obasanjo cautions Nigerians against making a wrong choice come 2023. And moving on to more news now. Even as the remaining victims of the Abuja-Kaduna train attack remain captive, taxi drivers and traders at the Ragasa rail station want government to hasten the rescue of the other victims still in captivity so that train services can resume. This suspension of the train services has resulted in the loss of many jobs, and many families now find it difficult to survive. The report.
This place used to be very busy with passengers, traders, and taxi drivers. But for over months now, the place has been deserted and many jobs lost due to the suspension of train service by the Nigerian Railway Corporation after terrorists attacked Kaduna-Abuja train, abducted many, and killed some. Taxi drivers who convey arriving passengers from the station to different destinations are almost idle as patronage has fallen to almost zero level. The suspension of train services has paralyzed our business here. We are in hardship. Some of us had to relocate to other places in search of jobs. The place is deserted as no business activity is taking place. We find it difficult to get food as there are no passengers to convey. Yakubu Abubakar is a tea and bread seller at the Rigasa railway station. He once employed 6 people prior to the suspension of train services, but now he can barely cater for his family. About 95% of traders left this place, although some people do come here to while away time and go back home. I used to have 6 people that helped me manage my business, but now I manage it alone because I can't pay them. They have to leave. They appeal to the government to hasten the rescue of the remaining train attack passengers and secure the train route to enable train service to resume so that their businesses can bounce back. We want the government to make more effort in bringing back the train service so that our business will bounce back. We appeal to the government to save our source of livelihood by bringing back the train service and also rescue the remaining victims still in captivity. We appeal to the government to devise means of negotiating with the abductors of the train passengers so that our business will revamp. The resumption of train service is expected to rekindle hopes in many households at Rigasa community and beyond as business activities will be revamped. Bella Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
A magistrate court in Oshogbo, the Osun State capital, has remanded a notorious serial killer, Hamid Rashid, at a correctional center in Ilesha. The accused person was taken to court by a police anti-cultism squad under heavy security as a large crowd stormed the court to catch a glimpse of the notorious cultist who had allegedly killed several people. The magistrate, Olusegun Ilara, did not take the plea of the accused person and was remanded at the correctional center in Ilesha. The chief magistrate adjourned the case till October 7th. Speaking with Trust TV's Hamid Oyegbade, counsel to the accused person, Taiwo Awokule, said the magistrate court lacks the jurisdiction to handle the case because offences of his client are capital in nature.
It was arraigned, and because some of the offences in the charge are capital in nature, so the magistrate lacks the jurisdiction to handle those counts that have to do with capital offences. So that is the reason why the court ordered that he be remanded in the correctional center, while the police are ordered to duplicate the case file for submission to the Director of Public Prosecutions, Osun State.
Now, 8 months after failing to commence investigative public hearing into the rape and death of 14-year-old boarding student of Premier Academy, Lugbe Abuja, Karen Hapuch Apaka, Amnesty International has written to the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, to comply with his resolution by commencing forthwith the public hearing. Country Director, Amnesty International Nigeria, Osai Ejiko, in a letter called for an immediate, impartial, effective and independent investigation and the prosecution of all those found with no recourse to the death penalty. In a motion by Mark Ogbila on the 7th of December 2021, the House of Representatives had resolved to conduct investigative public hearing of the said Premier Academy with a view to uncovering the circumstances which led to the rape and death of its 14-year-old student. Concerned by the non-compliance of the lawmakers, Amnesty International has called out the lawmakers to toe the path of honor by commencing the exercise. Concerned residents of Oshodi, Isola local government area of Lagos State have decried the electricity bill imposed on them despite a blackout. They accuse the Ikeja Electricity Distribution Company of exploitation despite unstable power supply to the area, describing such an act as unfair. Members of the Let There Be Light Forum said the Oshodi Isola local government constituency 1, comprising of Oshodi, Alasia, Shogunle, Mafoloku communities, have been in total blackout for 3 weeks until August 5th, when some areas were supplied after complaints by residents. They said the total blackout occurred due to a power surge and fire outbreak that occurred in the substation within the Oshodi Isola local government secretariat 3 weeks ago.
The system have made us lose focus on whom we are. It's made us lose our human value. The lacking of electricity at this era of very expensive crude oil. Many shops have folded up, many businesses have been shut down because of lack of power.
So from January now, we have been going through NEPA problem here and there. Even attacking the NEPA man last time that they came to ration our lights. So all these things we have been going through a lot, but nobody can just come out and say anything about this light issue.
Problem we are facing when it comes to electricity is not peculiar to an area or a state. It's general in the whole of Nigeria.
Really, the problem here we are facing as per the light issue is serious because close to a month, or let me just say right from January, we've been experiencing an epilepsy light problem here. But it's the one that got us so pissed off was the one last month, that close to a month there was no light at all.
Now for a look at the foreign scene, where at least 2 police officers and 1 civilian are confirmed dead after a day of anti-government protests in Freetown, Sierra Leone, over the rising cost of living. Vice President Mohamed Julde Jallo confirmed the fatalities on Wednesday, announcing that a nationwide curfew had been imposed. The cost of living in Sierra Leone has risen by more than 40% in the last few months, with food, electricity and fuel prices also spiking. The protesters called for the resignation of President Julius Maada Bio from office, who was elected in 2018 and still has 10 months left in his term. ECOWAS has condemned the violence and called for peace on Twitter, urging all to obey law and order and for the perpetrators of the violence to be identified and brought to justice. And finally, in sports, Africa Soccer ruling body CAF has confirmed 8 qualified teams that will take part in the 2022 Beach Africa Cup of Nations. Notable among the qualified teams are Nigeria's Super Sand Eagles, who are making a return to the competition after missing out on the last edition. They picked the qualification ticket for this year's edition without kicking a ball after their opponent Libya withdrew from the qualifiers. Other teams listed are hosts Mozambique, Egypt, Morocco, Malawi, Madagascar, Uganda and the defending champions, Senegal. CAF further announced that October 21st to 30th as the date for the tournament in Mozambique. And that wraps up Trust TV News Update for this hour. For more news, you can subscribe and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for joining us.